Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, I mentioned in a previous video that there was an issue with Systemd and Plasma, and people saying that you had to run Systemd on Plasma, and that one distro, that being KaOS, has chosen to walk away from Plasma entirely. And I said in that video I would look at the new release of KaOS. And I was going to do that last week, and the challenge we had is that it is so bad. It went into a total crap fest, and I just decided I wasn't going to do it. But I said I'd do the video. I still had it on real hardware, and I thought I'd try and put together a little bit more of a positive, while still explaining near the end of the video what the biggest negatives were and the things that were not broken. So if you like this type of content, subscribe to that cat right there. And we're going to go ahead and install it on a VirtualBox just to show you the basic installation, but the actual review part's going to be on real hardware, and that probably might be part of the root of my problem, because it is so broken with a feature that has been fixed in computers 2 decades ago. Let's go ahead and see what they did. All right, so we're going to show you what the installer looks like here on a virtual machine, but our full review is actually going to be on real hardware. I just want to show you what the installation here looks like. So it is using the Calamaris installer, and what I like about it is there are a number of different settings and options in here to really specialize everything you need. So we're going to change their time zone there. Just got to drag it and click on the map, and then everything else is good. Here's your keyboard layouts. And now we have the option of your Office suite. You can do Calligra, LibreOffice, No. And there is also this option minimal install. And I really had a question about this one here, because this whole system is using the Noctalia shell instead of KDE, but this optional minimal install creates a Plasma desktop install, removes all extra applications. I'm going to do this just to see if this is really Plasma, being that the distro has changed its desktop environment. So I just want to test what that is. Now here you can choose whether you want to use pulse audio or Pipewire. Default is Pipewire. And you can go down and choose how you want your file system to go. This one actually, you know what, I'm actually having less options here on the VirtualBox. That might be a nature of the VirtualBox, but on the real hardware, when you pull this down, you actually have the option of 4 different file systems. The default is XFS. There's also ext4, and there were 2 other ones in there, but I don't remember what those were. Maybe that was actually because we chose, let me choose the same exact options I did on the last one. See if by some odd chance that might not be the reason for that. No, so I don't actually have those options in this one. So on the real hardware, I had more file system options, probably because I'm on the VirtualBox is why we don't have that option. But you choose your options for your file system there as well. So this also is changed. Here we have grub or no bootloader. There were actually 4 options, and I did the default was is it Liminone? Is that how you pronounce? That's a new initialization / bootloader system. But this here again, the installer is completely different on Virtual Machine. I did not expect this, but it is a completely different installer. You can do no bootloader, grub. Oh, you know why? I actually don't have that other option, and probably the same reason for the file system as well, because the virtual machine, because it's not real hardware, does not have the UEFI options, which is required for some of the other means that I installed it. So that's actually why. Let me clarify that. So I'll go back through maybe, and I'll see if I'll grab some pictures of what the install looked like over here. Let's just go ahead and do that and enter in a super secret password. It's definitely not 123. And we're going to use the same for that. Let's see if it allows me to use that short one. And there you have it. So go ahead and hit install now. And I'm just curious here to see if we actually get KDE or if we have the Noctalia shell window manager system here. But that's how the installer works. There are a lot more options. And again, there's a few different options if you're doing on a real hardware, which I would highly recommend. They do not recommend that you use this on a virtual machine because of some of these limitations we just saw here. But be sure the full review we do here after this installation portion is actually done on real hardware. So our minimal installer is done, and you can see it is still the Noctalia shell. So that is certainly an error in their installer here. So let me make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Noctalia shell. I think that's it. This is the first time I'm seeing it, so it's actually kind of neat. I will have a lot of interesting things to say about it. So let's go ahead and move on over to the full install on the real hardware, and we'll have a look at the system from there. So on over here to the operating system itself installed on real hardware. I want to mention first and foremost, I'm going to try and keep this review as positive as possible. KaOS is a distribution in the past that I've looked at and really enjoyed, but I cannot give a lot of positive credence to this edition. And a lot of this has to do with the change to this new desktop environment. Neri Noctalia is not production ready. And I'm going to base this on just a couple little things. I guess I'm going to try and keep the review here mostly positive. But this desktop environment choice sets them back a decade at least. But let's go ahead and have a look at the changes here. So obviously they kind of did this based on this false assumption that in order to keep running Plasma, they're going to be forced to be systemd only, which is not true. And what's hilarious is that the system by default ships with systemd. Very interesting. But they did switch to this Neri and Noctalia based system, and that gives it this new desktop environment that it looks very nice and polished on the front end, although there are some really gaping holes in the programming. We're going to get to those in a little bit near the end here, but I do want to try and give the desktop the greatest amount of praise that I can. So first, of course, here's the basic information. It's still completely Qt based. And being completely Qt based, you're not going to find any GTK or anything like that in this particular system. We do have the installer, and we did the installer on the virtual machine, which was a different experience as doing it on real hardware. But let's go ahead and start by having a look. We're going to do this differently than I usually do. We're going to start with what applications are installed, because we're going to move from KaOS itself on out to the desktop environment, which is the first time I'm looking at this one. But this is the second time I'm recording this video. The first one, it just turned into a negative crap fest, and I just didn't want to release that video. So we're going to go ahead and try and be a little bit more positive this way, but still push back quite a bit on some of the issues that I found. As far as the software, as you can see, all of the software available is still your basic Qt software. They even have pre-installed for a simple screen recorder, which doesn't work. The only way I could figure out that you could get simple screen recorder working is with the GTK add-ons, and of course those are not in the repositories. So I tried a number of different ways I could not get simple screen recorder working. So we are on this kind of janky setup that I will talk about in a moment. As far as the other software, again, it's pretty much all just your KDE applications, from gaming, the suite of software. As far as the production software, I could choose between LibreOffice, which is what I selected, and I had a couple other options. I can't remember what those are now. I remembered a little bit ago, but like I said, I installed this quite a while ago. As far as your web browser base, of course, we have Falcon. We have Octopi is what we are using to, thank you, Bluetooth is enabled. Okay, whatever. Octopi is what we have here for our complete package manager. I believe the system runs Pac-Man on the background, I think. At least I saw references to Pac-Man in the release notes. So if you want the full software, you have Octopi, and I do believe they have another software. Oh, you know where it is. It's hold on, it's over here. And I will explain why this is getting a little bit janky here in a bit. But over here, we had some basic shell settings here. These are the basic settings. We'll get into those. Oh, it's not over here. I was looking for the software installer. There is a basic software installer as well. I thought there was anyway. Maybe there's not. Okay, I'm getting confused because I installed this so long ago. So Octopi is your software installer. I think when you first set the system up, you can choose a few different software packages as well. And that pretty much is the end of KaOS itself. So now I want to gear this towards the desktop environment and why this is a huge backdrop. Now, first, they do have one of the best privacy policies. So there's their praise. They do ask to collect information, but by default, the telemetry is disabled and the information they collect is extraordinarily small. It's pretty much nothing. It is still stuff I don't want to send, but at least it's not being really horrible. Now, as far as the system, it looks pretty. And when I first booted this up, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. There's a dark mode guy here, which doesn't work in my current system setup. We'll talk about why that might be in a moment here. But you can see here's our volumes. We have notifications. Here's our internet stuff going on over here. We have our clock. We have a clipboard manager. This is a wallpaper selector over here. We can choose between a couple of different workspaces there. There's a workspace switcher, which I can't go back to that second one again. It has vanished on me. Let's have a brief look at our settings here first. Now, the basic control panel up here is really nice in that we can choose our audio, actually, we can't really choose it, can we? Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. We can mute it. We can't really choose it from here, but we can adjust the volumes over here. We have a basic plugin here for weather, although I'm not sure where exactly that's configured. It might actually be in the settings. I wasn't specifically looking for that. But it's built in there. We have our, you can close the menu, our session items here. You can toggle on and off your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. I don't know why our wallpaper selector is all over the place. Apparently they really want to promote their wallpaper selector, and there's no wallpapers installed. Okay, good, wonderful. It's par for the course for this desktop environment. It looks pretty and shiny until you dig into the hood, and nothing works. Okay, it's beautiful. It's just completely broken. Our panel does have a lot of options. We can move it anywhere we want. We can, let's see, is this the panel here? Where was it at? I swear I had a spot to move the panel around to different locations. Oh, that was the bar. This is called the bar. Okay, so the bar, the default position there is the right. You can move it the number of different places. We'll go ahead and keep it on the default right. We do have a number of different options for how big the bar is. So you can, of course, make those particular changes that you want. It can be always visible, non-exclusive. I don't know what that is. What is non-exclusive? I have no idea. Not inclusive, I guess. I don't know. And then, there's a bunch of different things for showing or hiding the capsules and outlining the widgets and, making the bar opaque and things like that. So the shininess factor, they kind of have pretty good. Here's your various panels. Here's your screens. Let's see. Is that your panels? Okay. So I think they have a difference between the bars and the docks. There's no dock by default. Actually, I turned that on and never turned it off. But you can turn it on and it will automatically hide down there. You can adjust the size, the opacity, and things like that. And then as far as you have a number of different desktop widgets you can do. Now, here is, as I said, this feels a little janky. And here's the biggest problem, okay? You go down and there is a spot for display. And you'd think when you go to display, you can do things like, change your screen resolution, mirror your screen so I can, see the same thing. I am recording this with a capture card because there is no Wayland screen recorder I know of that works without GTK. And I couldn't find one, and there's nothing in the repositories except for Simple Screen Recorder, which is broken because Simple Screen Recorder doesn't work on Wayland, and the only way to get it to work with Wayland is using Pipewire, which only works with GTK. All right, so I had to plug this into the capture card. Great. Okay, so we're recording this on the capture card. I literally have to do this on the overflow monitor. I cannot set the monitors to mirror. I cannot change the screen resolution to something better. I have zero control over any of my displays under display, except I can, for some reason, turn on this nightlight stuff, which apparently doesn't work. And the whole nightlight concept, don't get me started. It does not help you sleep to have lighter, your like redder colors. There's a lot of conflicting science in there. Okay, you want to have night lights, fine. That's fine. The other thing that it has, you can adjust the screen brightness, which, you know, every laptop has the ability to do that with hotkeys and has had it for at least 2 decades. And most of your desktop monitors, you can adjust that kind of stuff. Albeit, I will admit that having a little button to do that on your desktop is much easier than adjusting it on the panel. But that ultimately is the only functions we have. Again, it does not work in this setup. Now, the reason I think this does not work is because there's jankiness going on with the capture card. And so I have a laptop screen and I have a capture card. The capture card is acting, of course, as a second monitor, and there's something about that capture card that doesn't like things like the dark theme. In all of my tests with a single monitor, this light mode, dark mode toggle worked perfectly fine. No problems. Even the external screen brightness toggles worked perfectly fine without any problems. But here on the capture card, that's not the case. Now, my problems with changing the monitor are not tied to the capture card because I plugged this whole thing into my regular external monitors as well, and I still cannot change the screen resolutions, and I still the dark mode, light modes work. All the things work as expected. It's just with this capture card. And what's interesting too is that when I plug in my regular external monitors and close the lid, it detects perfectly fine. There's a monitor. It moves that one monitor to the only monitor display, and everything works great. However, with the capture card, it doesn't seem to allow me to do that. And so it sees this capture card as something really completely different. But that's not the ultimate root of the problem. This is why I say this thing is not really production ready. I cannot mirror displays. This is 2026. Why would you even ship a desktop environment in this mode here? Now here you can see you can toggle your input output devices, so their audio stuff is working fine. Who knows, maybe that's because I selected Pipewire and not Pulse Audio, whatever else. And so ultimately the system looks nice and shiny. It looks beautiful. It looks like a desktop I would like to use. It's smooth. It looks beautiful. It has a lot of modern things that I think are beneficial. The problem we have is that outside of the polish, it's mostly broken. And that's the biggest problem I have with this particular version of KaOS. So I might have to, to get this to work properly, if I go in and install Plasma on top of this, I might actually get it to function. But as far as this goes, I used to say, hey, KaOS is a great distribution if you only want to use Qt applications, if you really like that Plasma ecosystem. This was one of the best. But in this current setup, I just can't recommend KaOS at this time, which is very sad. And I would love to see this mature to the point where I can. But as right now, there's a lot of challenges and problems in here that kind of say Linux has solved these things a long, long time ago. Why are we having such aggression? Well, I'll tell you why. Wayland. That happens to be the case. There's probably some other issues as well. It would be interesting to see what this looks like if they have natively installed Plasma on it as well. That would kind of be neat. But this is kind of my take on looking at this. Let me know your thoughts about all this. Do I have this right? Am I totally wrong about this? I don't know. Let me know, but this was what I observed having a look at this. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.